Okay, let's get this started. What is that? Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Okay, so today I'm going to tackle the user registration form. I think it's a useful addition to moving the project a little bit further forward. And then I think we might wait a little while before doing much else ourselves. See if we can't get some movement forward on this. So let's start with checking out new branch. This feature 8. User registration UI. There you go. Okay. So this is running the let's have a look. See where we want to put this. Watch. Start the Blazor app. It's easy to start Blazor through this. It just tracks better with changes, etc. Still starts up the browser as well. Okay, so we're gonna basically do a user registration form that will navigate from here, right? So you'll navigate, and we can actually start that now. So components, login. So we'll put div like that. Okay. And then we'll create a registration page. There's a component. Does page now work? Oh, like that. With Razor.js, nice. Call that register. Like that. Oh, still put me in there. Okay. So that should, yeah, home, register. Okay. We have the beginnings of a registration page. So to register an account with this, all you need, this might be relatively quick to do as well overall. All right. Accounts. So we need a name, an email, and a password. So let's go to our login component. Let's take our form. There's no point in login form data. So registration form, registration data, email, password, name, and we have that. So we're creating a new one of them. That's registration form data. And then we are register, right? So public async ask execute registration. It doesn't like that. Okay, if we call it register, which is actually action, then it's going to conflict with the component, and then we're going to have an issue. Execute registration. Okay, unvalid submit. So we need a name column, a name field. Div class equals row. I'll do for name, name, name. That's what do it properly, right? Confirm password. Public string, confirm password. Name and so I know there's validations, etc. that I can do. So we can do further validation, but that's a different story. But at the very least, I want to make sure that we actually are and password equals confirm password. I want to make sure that we're actually doing if form data is valid. That'll do. So how much of that's working so far? Register. And what? Didn't change login, did I? Nope, didn't change login. That says register. Oh, that'll, yeah, okay. Let's make sure I actually can tell the difference. Register, there you go. That's good and bugged me. There you go. Path equals btn primary. Okay, so we can do that. Now on the services side, and again, I'm not trying to do too much here. I've got a story for validation on this on the server side as well, because again, the API should validate it as well. We know that registration is a thing. So name, email, password. Right. We actually don't have confirmed password in this. That's an interesting question, though. Should you have confirmed password in that model that gets sent to the API, or should you just accept that the password you pass in to the API is valid? I think the latter is the right way to do that there. Can't make this a primary constructor because it would, I don't think it can model bind properly. If I find out that's possible though, I'm totally doing that, because then I can put parameters as a one-liner up here and it's much more apparent what's happening. I only put it down at the bottom because it's kind of peripheral, but it is self-contained within this class. So auth or user. So we kind of called this user, but is it really user? And we call this auth. This does authenticate. Is it auth to register? I mean, you log out here, you log in here, essentially. You authenticate and log out. is registration here, I think, for right now. So public. But this is the problem I have with creating these service classes the way they are, is you end up with these where does it live, and then if someone comes along and doesn't make the same assumptions you do, then it's you miss it. I really have to start remembering to advertise the stream a little bit, just in case people don't assume that I'm on a schedule. Let's make sure that's in streamer mode, or I'm going to be distracted streamer. Okay, so is that really it? I mean, yeah, I mean, there's not much to register, is there? So then over here, we need to do inject auth service, and then we're gonna do yeah, that'll do. That'll do, donkey. If not result, we'll worry about that afterwards. Otherwise, we need navigation manager to navigate us to the login page. So let's go over here. I mean, this is kind of a messy one. If result navigation manager dot navigate to login, right? Otherwise, we need a. Where do we do this? I think we did this on another form somewhere. Most perturbing. We don't have any validation errors. Let's put that. I like how it wants to do that though. Like, already have an account. Interesting to do that. Interesting that it puts that one above, even though. Yeah, what I'm debating right now is do I want to do public string validation message, string the empty, unable to register. Please try again. Else. Right. If validation message, if not, string that is not empty. Validation message, if mass equals alert. No. Those aren't classes. Registered at wizard 2110. That might. That's because it was a breaking change or what it was called. Hey Wesley, how you doing? There you go. Register, log in, register. Good. Saw the comments about the podcast. Sorry, I forgot about the test part. I'm not used to having those. No worries. Yeah, thank you so much for making the effort there and putting those in, and solving the one problem. Yeah, unit tests is something that I think I need to spend a little bit more time on, kind of highlighting how you would do them. I did add a note to the repository as well, because it did trigger that. Oh well, hold on, not everyone knows about unit tests. So like, if you're there are unit tests, but don't be afraid to make a commit, because of the unit tests. We can always work together to get them fixed and running. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, the only reason the primary reason I rejected the pull request was mainly the fact that the defaults, there are no sane defaults. So that's why I made sure that on the issue, or on the PR, I put quite an explanation as to why. Because, yeah, everyone's water consumption is different. So I decided today to just do the user registration page, get this piece in so that you can actually register an account when you sign up, when you go in. Yeah, this doesn't validate at all, so it's not going to worry. So this should now actually technically work. So Bob, and this would be fred@bob.com. Password would be too common in development. Well, again, there's a lot of people that are fred@bob.com flyer. There you go. Yeah, normally I just do solo stuff a little. Yeah. If you know, I don't know what your situation is, but if you are a professional developer or you work as part of, you just, it's a hobby, some of those things get even harder to deal with, right? In a lot of businesses, people don't want to spend the time to test. There you go. So we got that. The bar for being productive plus testing is relatively high. Yeah. Even yesterday. So I'm guilty of the same. So I've been working on a project, and I have, obviously this is PHP. I have no idea how to write effective tests against the thing that I did. So I didn't write unit tests. And one of my colleagues pushed back and said, we need to write unit tests. Like, around what? Like, there's so many different things to mock. Most of it is SQL based. Like, what am I effectively testing here? But I should. But I do know that this project has been backed up, so it's, the tests have to fall to the side. And again, you have a benefit of, if you set up an environment that's good for testing from the start, then it's easy to do, right? What are you wanting me about? The bar for being productive plus testing is relatively high. I mean, pressure to produce will reduce quality. It's really positive feedback loop. Yeah, and it's also a negative feedback loop in the event of I want to add tests. Yeah, the defaults made sense why it was really. I was thinking though about it. For example, instead of having after registering go to preferences first, or check the preference for the target goal. If it's still 0 and invalid value, don't show the gauge or something. Yeah, there's all sorts of different ways we could approach that one, right? The second PR of whether are rejected, primarily because we actually did some research as well, and there's no sane default to pick. So it doesn't make sense to default the preferences. Asking the user to make sure they enter a goal is the way. So either we add that onto registration, right? So when you go here, once you've registered, it takes you to the settings page. Co-worker had his PR rejected. Asked him if it's good. He's good. I think part of the process of doing, and that's why I do put on the front page, right? Doing a PR does not guarantee success. It's part of that process. You have to be prepared for that. So we didn't have that discussion, right? We didn't talk about. Well, we did talk about the preferences a long time ago, but we didn't document that. So what we highlighted there was a bit of a gap in both shared knowledge and documentation. Yeah, I figured roughly 2 liters average. It was just something I encountered when I fixed the first issue, another problem, and tried to fix that too. Yeah. No, I get it. I really do sincerely appreciate the commitment to getting stuff in there. That's really refreshing to start Monday and have some PRs to look at. I think if PRs cannot get rejected, you're at least subconsciously withholding your opinion. Yeah, you can't take it personally, right? I think that's what you're getting at, Delta, right? People being upset by the fact that PR is rejected, and in this case, we're having a good conversation about it, right? I think that if you are making a PR and it's getting rejected because you don't have context, then you've been set up for failure. So I can kind of see why that would be upsetting. But in the same, like you said, yeah, I learned how to make a pull request, so I gain value. Yeah, that's the entire point of the project, right? The project is not about everyone just doing what they want with the project. The project is about, let's treat it like it's an actual product and guard against certain things, and sometimes those PRs will get rejected. I'm sure I withhold opinions and worry about the receiver will take it. And it also depends upon the situation you're working in as well. If you're working in an environment that is language in this stream. If you're working in an environment that is low on documentation, it's harder to track some of this stuff because requirements are lost and PRs are not. You don't know whether you're going to have a PR rejected because you're just kind of making stuff up as you go. So it very much depends on the workflows as to how useful a PR is. But in general, I think they all go together, right? Low documentation environment has to go with clear, understandable code. And if you think about the people that came up with, that kind of founded the Agile movement, a lot of them are also the people that vote for clean code, and one of them at least is, right? And more concise requirements and better data gathering and all sorts of stuff. So it all goes hand in hand. These aren't things that are isolated. So in a world where the code is easier to maintain and cleaner and easier to understand and readable, Agile works because Agile is moving you forward and being pragmatic about it. The problem is we try and use it as an excuse to be fast. Yeah, trying to adapt the Agile behaviors without the code base to match doesn't work. And it will always struggle. You have to. It's an entire mindset thing, right? So yeah, it's lots of people have different styles. Trying to keep that the same is something as well. Styles are hard as well. So we haven't even got to that discussion yet because not many of us have actually touched this code so far. But again, the goal of this project is not necessarily, I'm not going to be super rigid about it, but in the same, once you work on a code base that's growing, different styles show through a little bit more, and that causes some friction. If you have different formatting preferences, like let's say and it can be very simple, right? Let's say you have that preference, right? And you come in here, or I come in here, and you've written this code, and I do that. Well, I've now changed a lot of things, so now the PR looks even more confusing, because now it says I've changed all sorts of data, all sorts of code that I haven't actually changed. It says I've added lines, it says I've added spaces, it says I've done all sorts of stuff to that. So it makes the PR more confusing. So the bigger the code base gets, the more changes you're making. Little changes can make a difference. So that's why coding style standards and actual naming conventions and stuff as a team are useful to adapt or adopt, rather. So, again, they all go hand in hand. I always wondered if those should or should not be in a PR. Well, so I am starting to believe that having general formatting happen on the code is like a pre-commit is a good idea, but you have to make sure the code's in a good place to start with. Because your argument isn't anything to do with the code base itself, it's that it's harder to check with the work. That in particular was a harder one, right? But even naming, variable naming, coding standards can make it harder to read. Let's say we have a demand that we don't use var, right? And I use var, and we're not used to seeing it, so we have to now spend a little bit more time looking at it. It's a challenge. If I'm on a specific task, it's discouraged to clean up areas around that task. But that's not leaving the code better than you found it, right? So it might be discouraged because of that exact reason. They don't want noisy PRs. I apologize for ads. I can use all the same code formatting profile, for example, in VS. I'll save it, just fixes it all for you. The more strict the PRs, the more it's like that. Yeah. In my experience so far, it's a big problem. Suffer from it daily. We just did a commit not too long ago, and we're actually running some tools to try and bring up the code to a new standard, right? To drop deprecated functions, etc. And it changed 800 files. And all it changed was the tag. But it changed 800 files, which you have to review, because if it formats something, because it also removed extra spaces, or it moved other things around in that format. So that's a massive PR that no one wants to review. So what do you do with that? It should be a one-time cost, yes. So that's a good point, right? One of the things that I think we should do is go through and make one stabilizing commit of all the big formatting changes that don't affect the code base, and just do that as one release. so that the code is all formatted and everyone can check out. Yeah, sorry, Wesley. The ads are an unfortunate problem, but it does keep the pre-rolls off so people can get into the stream, right? So thank you. Yeah, so I think one big commit of formatting and stuff like that, but it can be very simple. So again, coding standards was actually the point, right? When you're working on your own, you can make things up as you go along. You can change as you go along. But when you're working with a group, how do you effectively apply them, right? When do you keep an eye on them, right? So like you said, Wesley, you can use tools in Visual Studio or Rider. You can use editor configs and all sorts to make sure things are followed. It's weird, if you have PR reviews, then PRs to tasks have to be way more aligned, which means your overall impact of the code is lower. But your speed on the features you do produce is higher. Yeah. Yeah. Managing any code base is challenging. And again, it's why just putting this out here as a project that people can kind of attach to and understand, and we can talk in context, and you can practice things like PRs and issue tracking and all those sorts of things, and we can have those conversations beyond what is the software, right? It'd be great if we could all just sit down and write code, but there's more than that involved in writing software. So I think this is done. I think this PR is ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my traditional. I can roll back that. No, just delete that. I don't want that messing up. Actually, that does give me a pause. So, introduced registration. Added register page. Basic validation. Entered. Oh, I didn't test that part actually. If it registered, that's that. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter what I enter in here, right? Yeah, it's going to say it's invalid, so that's fine. I can't test the other one very easily. Let's do that actually. API. So let's just go in here. Go in here and then return false. Run that. It seems like blaming the process rather than the people is typically more effective. So, I guess in extreme dysfunction, that's really evident. So here's the problem that I've witnessed and experienced in several different places now. The company needs to deliver a product. The developers want to deliver that product. The company has come from a realm of or an era or a time of just getting stuff done. So code has been thrown in there, customers have complained, code has been thrown in there, customers have complained, code has been thrown in there, features have been rushed out and then fixed in production. So they've evolved into this mess, right? And not only have they evolved into this mess, the organization has evolved into that mess as well. That is their process. It's chaotic, but they've kind of got it down to a fine art, and it's working for them at that point. they grow. It gets a little harder. They bring new people in. New people have less context of what is there. New people have opinions on how things should work, right? But then the company doesn't want to change everything because obviously things are working and everything else seems like a lot of time. And the problem is that we as developers are very, very bad at quantifying time, right? And we're bad because we often grossly overestimate the simplicity of something, and that applies, right? So we're not lying. We believe it's going to be one way, but it's not necessarily going to be that way. So it takes longer than it should do. So we blame the process, and then we try and change the process, but then we have to commit to that, and then someone has to kind of step up and take control of that. And we as developers don't traditionally do that because, again, we are not in general. It's not that we're not leaders, it's that we, in general, development will often want to just get development done. So you don't take charge and run things. Also, the business has to hand over the reins a little bit as well and accept change. So that's a little harder to do. So it is a combination of the people and the process, but it takes a significant effort to change everything about it, right? To make sure that you stop, because again, the only real way of doing it is to stop and make massive change to your process, but then be very rigid on it. But then the problem is that you slow yourself down, and that's a hard swallow for any business because they're like, whoa, well, we're not delivering new features, we're not able to sell new things, so let's not do this. So you have to have full-on commitment from everyone involved to a period, but you can't measure the period, which means that the fear is increased. It's kind of like large methods in a code base. 90% of code bases have this issue, 10% of code bases have the opposite. Yeah. Too much change is too broad a statement also. It's a label. It's label, not feedback. Yeah. But, I mean, it's all fear-driven, right? It's an unknown, and how do you quantify it is what is changing too much and how needs to be more specific. Right, but it's hard to quantify again. You change the process, you inject things like, okay, we need to have coding standards, we need to have GitHub Actions to make sure that unit tests are run. We need to do this, and this. Well, that takes investment in time. It needs to be sturdy. It needs to be robust. That's one step. But then the code base isn't in a good place to do it. So the code base constantly fails on it. So, okay, well, we need to take about a month to go through, or even if it's a week, right? If we need to take a week, we need to format the code base. No one else should be changing stuff. Oh, we can't do that. Yeah, the more process investment, yeah, absolutely. You slow down features, and slow down features takes great commitment from the business to accept that. And this is why rewrites are common, right? Where the argument is, well, just let us rewrite it, and we can rewrite it in parallel, because then we can start all over again. But the problem is the process needs to be firm on the new stuff, and it often isn't, because it's in that mentality of get features done quickly so we can show the business value. So it's a cycle that needs to be broken at some point. And you need a business that's willing to invest in that time and energy in such a way that that's not going to scare everyone. So Alan So that's a little bit of a hacky test, but it is a test nonetheless. That validates that that will return and show an error message for invalid user. If it's the same devs with the same process, the work output is not going to be hugely better during a rewrite. No, and it's obviously new people coming in are often the catalyst of a rewrite or a greenfield project. And it's at the point you have to, and I've tried it, right? I've been that dev, and succeeded to some extent. New developers coming in introduces more challenges because you don't have the new knowledge. You don't have, you might have new experiences. You might have experience of deployment. You might have experience of full-on CI/CD pipelines coming in, so that these things are more possible because people come in knowing and understanding how to do it. But then you've got business logic and all those sorts of things that go with it. So yeah. Basic validation, there are fields entered and passwords match. Wide up all service, registration endpoint. Removed. Confirm password. Okay, so I'm going to commit and push that. Yeah. Working in larger code bases, working in older code bases, or not even necessarily older. Oh, this does let me do this. Into development. Let's see if this works. User registration flow, UI, wide up. Like if you're new to this project, by the way, the only option isn't just to fix what's there. You can take this and build your own UI if you want to. If you have opinions on how it should be done, you're more than welcome to kind of fork it, create a new UI, and even make that as a PR back. That is an option, so you don't have to deal with this UI specifically. This is just an example UI wired up to the same API. The registration page. Okay. Pull requests. Ah, I can see him in here. Okay. That's good to know. I can see PRs in here, so that should exist up on there now, right? There you go. So I'm going to leave that open on the project to be reviewed if anyone wants to review it. But today I learned something. Heading to work a little early. Good luck, everyone. Dota, as always, thank you very much. Have a great day at work, and I'll speak to you again soon. I do enjoy starting the day with conversations like this. It is engaging. Actually, I owe a bit of feedback as well on something as well that Dota posted. I've had it open for days. Yeah. So this is an article that Dota posted in the Discord on the Agile side. accountability talking about this, right? Written by Kent Beck, who's again an extremely knowledgeable person. This is an interesting one as well, especially going hand in hand with what we just talked about, accountability. So I need to finish reading that. Okay, so there's not much else I'm going to do on Water Drink Water today, is there? Because I don't want to move. I want to leave PRs out there for a little while, just so they've got a little chance. So if people come in, they can have a look at them, review them. You're more than welcome to go through the flow. So if you are interested in reviewing a PR, I don't know if it lets you though, as a non-member of the group. If you can look at and review a PR, you might need to be a member of the team, a collaborator, an actual acknowledged collaborator on the project. You should at least be able to see the PRs. Okay, so you can make comments. Okay, can you mark it as approved? Like, because if I do this right, if I do that, I can't do that because I'm the owner of the PR, so I can't approve my own PR. But do you get that flow? Because that'd be interesting. I don't think you should be able to, because I don't think you're a member of the team. There's no actual team on this project. It's just I have certain people on this. No, you don't. Okay, so you don't get the ability to approve, but you can leave comments similar to what I can, which is perfectly fine. That's not a challenge. Again, if we got into the point where people were more interested in protecting this, then I would add people as team members. There you go. So yeah, I'm going to leave that open. It's open for comment. On that topic, this might be something useful to use eventually. Needs to start using the tooling a little better. I can review it. Wasn't in the right tab. Okay, nice. So you can actually mark a review on it. That's cool. Yeah. So if you're in the files changed, you can go through and review it. Let's do this. And that's what this project's for. So you can do that sort of stuff and understand what it means to do it. That's why I'm making my PR there. I could merge the code, right? There's nothing stopping me from merging the code, but the purpose is, as PRs are in there, give people the chance to review. So that's why I'm gonna leave that until next Monday now. Start off the stream. So next Monday, I'm gonna move to game dev on Mondays for a while. Give this project a little bit more time to kind of sit and give users a reference, because the entire goal of this project is one of not me doing all the coding, but being able to build a project that we have a shared understanding of and can discuss things around it, can talk about rules and designs and all sorts with a shared context. So if it gets too big because I've put too much development in, it gets a little harder to do that. So yeah, I have an idea. There you go. So I'm gonna commit that. I'm gonna be naughty there. It is to learn, not to make progress quickly. I understand. Yeah. So I don't want to make it about me doing all the development. So yeah, Mondays I'm going to move to doing some Godot, some game dev stuff. So I'm going to work for a couple of weeks on my little shoot 'em up game that I made on stream last week, and then I'm going to move to a more ambitious project if I can figure out some of the mechanics of game development. From what I've done so far, I actually feel pretty comfortable with the way things are working. So yeah, that will be the project to switch to. So maybe that becomes Monday, Tuesday, with Drink Water as a peripheral project to talk about and work through. But we'll see. Realistically, I'm just trying to make sure I keep up my energy levels with this, right? It's hard to sometimes. It's not just about focus; it's about having energy and drive for projects. And sometimes you get a little tired, and that's when projects fall. So yeah. Okay, so I think that might be Drink Water for this week. At this point, we'll just leave that be for a little while. Yeah, if you want to go through that process, you're more than welcome to go and do the code review on that code. So the one thing that does stand out, right, in terms of challenges, how do you know there's something that you care to review about, right? So in a pull request, what I can do is, if you are a team member, right, I can select you there, right, as a reviewer. You can create groups and stuff as well of actual teams in an organization. But other than that, it's just a case of the discipline of going through that. Actually, one thing I should do, we go to Liquid Sky. And go back to here. So that was CI. So GitHub Actions. Do it this way. Oh, that actually tracks that I've got PR in it as well. That's nice. So if I do it through here, that works pretty well. That's just the README. If we go into open in Explorer, there is new folder. It is a bit hard for me to imagine right now what or how to comment, but I will try to make some time somewhere this week to look into that. Absolutely, there's no pressure. It's just there if you want to do it, right? Again, if you do this all the time, it gets a little easier. But if you're not doing it or you've never done it, that's what I intend this project to be. So if you have questions about it, if you want to talk about how do you go through something, that's what the stream's for, right? The stream is this is a accompaniment to this project, right? It's meant to be for this project. So that's why I will move to game dev for a few weeks at least, and maybe kind of alternate on and off this project so that it keeps moving forward and it keeps being visible, but it's not my every single week, because it's meant to be a fun project. And yeah, I need to pay attention to what I'm looking at. Workflow CI. So GitHub workflows. I'm going to follow the same pattern. It doesn't matter what this is called, I don't believe. Okay, so run unit tests, main development and feature branches. Checks out builds, .NET builds, .NET test, release. Okay, so that should actually just work. So go back here. I'm going to commit this directly to development. Add work, GitHub action to run unit tests, because you notice I didn't run my unit tests. So what kind of game? I'll show that in a second. Push. Hey, tick tick boom. How are you doing? How's things? An ad starts in 1 minute, so I apologize if you are caught by that. Although, yeah, I run them for. I did have them running at 3 minutes every hour, but I think 1.5 minutes every 30 minutes works. So let's see. Let's go back here. Okay, so we should have an action now. No? Isn't it GitHub? .github. Workflows. Did I just commit that to the wrong directory structure? I did. Needs to be up at this level. I'm an idiot. Moved workflows up a level. Doing good. Tight at the moment, been working out. It's turbo, so ads are not a problem. Yep. It is a nice thing to move around Twitch and not have to deal with ads. Okay. Let's try that now. Or I can just randomly click icons and deal with that. There you go. So now I should have an action. There you go. Huh. I don't know why. So my problem there is I put this at this level, but I then have another level, whereas normally this would be... I've made a mess of this project structure. I've not done it the same way I would normally do it. I've ended up creating a folder called Water Drink Water under the folder called Water Drink Water, into which I've put the solution for Water Drink Water. So I've made a mess of that one. So for right now, .NET build. Solution. So this would be .NET build project or solutions. So this would be here, and that would be water drink. Is that right? And then that would be let's start all over again. Let's try that. I don't think that's right. I might end up just committing this directory structure is incorrect. I don't want to do this. I'm okay with doing this CI YAML right this second. I don't want to do this while there's an open pull request. Once the pull request is done, I'll move all this around and get rid of this directory, or this directory. Move everything up one level and get rid of that nested directory. That will clean that up significantly. Did I push that then? I did not push that. Game-wise, no, that's Blender, not Godot. So what I'm going to do for the next couple of weeks on Mondays and Tuesdays is some game dev. I think Mondays and Tuesdays, drink water is still a valid option. It's still something we could talk about. Okay, looks like it's building. It's like I know what I'm doing almost. It's only a few warnings, it's fine. Okay, there's the test passing. There you go. Okay, so that builds. So now that build action is there. So once, I'm not going to put it as an issue because I don't want someone else to have to tackle that, because if they make a mess, that's not fair. So we can now take this, and how do we get the badge? There's a way of getting a badge off this, isn't there? Create status badge. Copy status badge. Go back here. Edit the README. Commit changes. Commit directly to development. I'm bad. There you go. Okay. Okay. Game development. So yeah, over the next couple of weeks, at the very least, I'm gonna kind of focus a little bit on some game development stuff. Yeah, we'll discuss it. We'll discuss drink water on a Monday or Tuesday stream. It won't go away, and if there's any effort on it, I'll focus on that. But yeah, so I do want to do some game dev. The reason I want to do some game dev is, as my name should suggest a little bit, I do like playing games. And I've always wanted to make a game. Last Monday, on my birthday stream, I had people helping me out a little bit, and it got me through some humps that I was facing. And I kind of just committed to doing something and not panicking about whether I was doing it correctly. So what I'm making right now is a little shoot 'em up game. I've got scoring working. I've got the flight working. I've got the scrolling working. It's very simplistic, right? What I intend to do is build this out a little bit more, get some more mechanics in place, get the enemies returning fire, get some enemy waves coming in and stuff, and then figure out end game and stuff. And this is just so I get the flow down. I'm not trying to build some amazing shoot 'em up here. I'm just trying to build something that has some working mechanics. So figuring out, okay, well, I've got, what does a scene do? How do I use that? What do the scripts do? How do they wire up? How do I keep score, etc. So I've kind of gone through and figured out some of these things, and that's helped me a lot. So what I want to do is kind of build out this game a little bit, and then I want to start building the game I want to build, which will be a city builder, right? So modeled economy, resources A to B, not a city builder in the SimCity style. No, more of a builder in the SimCity style, less of a builder in the city skyline style. So old school style. Actually, the one game that I want to build is this one. Images, A-Train game. not quite that ambitious. So A-Train is a series of games that are very popular in Japan, not so popular out over here, but they still exist. Been going for a while, almost 40 years. And this was on the Mac. Is there a screenshot of A-Train 4? Yeah, here we go. So this is kind of my ultimate city builder game. All right, you build tracks, you move resources around, you kind of build these little areas, and you kind of encourage population growth by moving resources into the area and then building things to keep them. Like you might put banks or stadiums down, etc., and you build this area out. So you're kind of building the cities around this map, and that would be my ultimate city builder. So that's what I would like to do, but I'm not quite ready yet for that. So I'm going to kind of build this little shoot 'em up, get the mechanics down, and then start doing a little bit of game dev on Mondays and Tuesdays. Oh, nice. So yeah, that will be that goal. And again, taking what I do, because the one thing that's very different about game dev. So if I'm building an application, right? So if I'm building this application, water, drink water, I have a client, I make a request. The request goes to an endpoint. That endpoint has things injected into it. In this case, a consumption service. So it's passed the thing it needs, and then it invokes a call on that thing, and that thing calls that thing, right? It only needs to know about it in terms of it just needs to call it. But at no point is there something tracking all of this, really. I mean, there is stuff at the core, I suppose, tracking it. Everything about dependency injection frameworks and stuff. But all these things are kind of chained together and invoking calls, and each one has a responsibility to pass back to the next, right? So it's very much down then up, or up then down, whichever way you turn the chart. But with game dev, things kind of come together differently. So this game manager is just the camera. I'm locking onto the camera there and moving it up the screen, right? The game manager lives on here, is attached to this, right? So when I start up, actually no, I don't have the game manager. Where's the game manager now? Oh, the camera. Oh, that's the camera. Do I not do that anymore? Did I move the behavior? No, that's the camera. So somewhere I do it, because I'm moving the camera up, right? You'd think I'd understand that one by now. Oh, there you go, the game manager. So the main has the game manager script attached. Sorry, I was looking up here thinking I needed to attach it, but this is the game manager, right? So I have the world map, the camera, the scorekeeper. And the scorekeeper itself is another script. And, so I've got all these things that know about other things. The scorekeeper, as I put it, literally listens to it goes through and finds all the enemy nodes, and then listens to a collision occurring and then scores them when they collide. I mean, that's a very simplistic way of doing it, because one hit kills, right? Whereas if it was more evolved, that would be harder to do. But again, just the way things work, like I have this script, attach it to the scene, and then when it starts, it says, okay, by the way, I'm going to go get all these enemies. So I now know about all these enemies, and then I'm going to watch for them, something changing on them, which is completely independent of this. So things know about things in ways that in regular app dev you don't do. Now I watched Apex stream, and he was building a game, and he was trying to do things like dependency injection and trying to hold solid on hold solid. No, there was no pun intended there, but then I made it a pun. The solid principles, right? Like separation of concerns and making sure that there is no like shared knowledge and singletons everywhere. So it is a very different way of programming. I created a cannon which I attached to the model to the player, so that the cannon is attached to the player. I mean, this isn't much different than your dependency injection, right? In terms of my controller has a service sort of thing. So I can move the player around, and when I press shoot, I fire the cannon, right? And the cannon knows what it is to fire. And in this case, it is literally create a new bullet, attach it to this, set its origin. That method is on the projectile, and it just sets its global position to the weapon, and then the bullet becomes a child of this node, so it's in the scene, and then that bullet is a projectile, and that has physics. So yeah, it's going to be very different to try and tackle that. I want to make this so that I have some AI, I have some enemy waves coming in, and I have an ending, and I know I can transition to a new level or whatever. I think that will teach me quite a lot about the movement, about the mechanics, and kind of gradually build on top of that knowledge, the same way I do everything else, right? I try and build an understanding and keep moving forward. And it's okay to throw projects out, right? Our Dallas, Steve Smith, today tweeted something about the number of projects in your GitHub, suggesting that you have an attention challenge, right? I've got 64 repositories in my GitHub. So there's a lot of lost code there. Why did you choose Godot over, for example, Unity or Unreal? So Godot's been getting a lot of love recently, especially since Unreal did their Unity did their lovely licensing blunder, right? So I've seen a lot more Godot around the place. I like that it uses C#8, or .NET 8 and C#12. So I get more language features available to me there. Whereas Unity's stuck on a older version with some quirks to the language, so I don't have to worry about getting hung up on some of those things. Unreal would either mean heavy investment in blueprints or more C++, which doesn't necessarily intimidate me, but it is something that I'm not really keen on tackling. So yeah, it's just it's a choice. I have a lot of different things. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks. We'll see how that goes. See if I move it forward, and hopefully not get too stuck. And I think streaming it will help in terms of my focus as well. But yeah, Water Drink Water will still be a project that is fully available. We can discuss it. I don't mind diverting to talking about it. It is definitely something I want to continue pushing forward and providing the ability to people to do things like pull requests, like issue tracking, like talks on standards and practices and stuff, and treat it as if it is a project that you know is a team project. So absolutely. So if you're new to the stream and you have any questions about that, you're more than welcome to ask. You're more than welcome to talk about this, and I'm happy to discuss these projects. You know, yeah. And Water Drink Water is a lot more approachable than my main project, right? It's a lot harder to talk about the main project than it is to talk about this. Speaking of which, I have about 40 minutes left of the stream. I'm not going to make more progress on this today. I'm going to switch my focus a little bit to the main project. I'd love to say I'm going to move to Godot, but I don't think I want to tinker with Godot specifically right this second for now. Because there's something I needed to test on this. So, if you've not seen it before, the main project I work on, the Agile Management Platform, is a much larger application by Codebase. Well, hope you have a great rest of the stream. I need to go do some grocery shopping with my uncle. He lives close enough to the flu. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. May you feel better soon. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you for the conversation. I appreciate you hanging out with me. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. It's funny, YouTube just falls out of sync. Okay, so the main project that I work on is Project Liquid Sky. That'll be over there. Is that still running? It is still running. It is a project planning and management tool for story tracking and let's update Chrome. The intention is to create a tool that is all the things that I've learned throughout my career, all the things I've gone through, all the things I've learned, and try and build a tool that helps developers develop and not get stuck in the stuff that we were talking about at the beginning of the stream. So, let's close that one down. That I want. That's okay. Mobbin's open. Let's log out. So I did have a bit of a I don't think you'd call it an epiphany. There you go. Okay, so I did have a bit of an epiphany yesterday. Is it an epiphany? Is it an epiphany if it's guided? Epiphany. The manifestation, no. A divine or supernatural being. A moment of sudden revelation or insight. Maybe not an epiphany. Bad word for what I'm thinking of. So I watched a video yesterday by a developer who streamed or puts YouTube videos of his application development. Actually, the one that turned me on to mobbing. And he was talking about how he built this application and he was trying to use it and realizing that it was falling short, right? It wasn't working very well because he'd done a lot of effort on the UI side of things and he'd tried to build this application rapidly overall. But with a little bit of time and reflection, he realized that the application really wasn't meeting his needs. Now, what I'm building here, I will be able to test to see if it meets my needs, but I've so far shied away from doing anything UI-based and trying to think about actual the way things should work. But as I move towards producing some of this stuff, maybe I need to start really considering the dog fooding aspect of it and see if it does work the way I want it to. Because kind of what he said was, he got so far and built this application, but then when he actually started to try and use it, it just didn't do what he needed to do. It wasn't giving him the information he needed. It wasn't giving him the things he needed. And he spent a lot of time reworking the UI. And he showed it to some people and like, we don't like that, we don't like this. So it's quite insightful for me, because I'm thinking, well, hold on, I've been putting off UI and not focused on how the UI works, because it doesn't really affect the backend very much, right? The backend components, tracking work items, alerting, notifications, etc., that's a mechanical piece that involves wire up in the backend. Why would the front end matter? But I looked at what he was doing, I'm thinking, well, that app is a lot simpler, right? There's no doubt about it. It's not a tiny app, but it is not a large scale application, right? It's focused on one user tracking one set of things. I'm dealing with multi-tenancy, I'm dealing with multiple user, and I'm dealing with multiple components of the system with distributed messaging and all sorts. So there's a bit of a challenge in so much as I've got a lot more on my plate. However, the problem remains, right? Should I spend the time focusing on the workflows? And if I look at OneLine, spending a lot of time on that UI side of things, on that, even the marketing pages and just the general professionalism of the product. It's not wasted time. It's valuable time spent because it makes the product look better. But also people coming into the stream, watching me do this, it will be easier if the workflows are more representative of actually how I want things to work. So I'm wondering, should I spend the time to go through and kind of prototype out in the UI everything I want to happen and do a bit of research there? And I'm starting to feel it might be worth it, right? Kind of look at workflows, look at designs, maybe tinker with a design and see if I can't get something working. But before I do that, I need to test this, don't I? So this would be new projects will be selectable from the filtering. Assigned, not new. Projects that are assigned should be filterable. 05 2024 Jeffrey Winkle. That's bad. That's bad. If you're watching the stream, you've not been in here before, if you have any questions, thoughts, or opinions on anything I do, anything I'm talking about, you're more than welcome to join in. I do enjoy the discussion as much as I do the coding. I'm more than happy to stop and divert and talk about what I'm doing. That is perfectly fine. Okay, so the project still gets updated properly. There's obviously there's these projects here. There's no associated projects there. So we need to create a planning item. Testing planning items with projects. Assign projects. 05, 2024. Jeffrey. And then we need to do planning and tenant management. Create that. So I'm looking for is this thing to appear. That's interesting. Oh no, because that's interesting. I don't have I know why. So now if I go here, there's my associated projects. There's my planning item, testing planning items with projects. So that is working. So that attached to planning item 10, 2 projects, project 1, project 2, and that is planning and tenant management. That's perfectly fine. These IDs don't necessarily correspond to the ordering. These were just when they were added to the system. And there's a notification, planning item updated. So the entire flow was working there, which is good. So again, the idea is that when you go into here now, I should be able to see the projects assigned. And I will make that happen, even though because it's not really a view concern. But again, talking about the usability, I think it's worthwhile moving forward, getting those things working. So planning item detail, this goes to the planning item store, which has the query feature. This query feature, load detail for. So detail merges information in, right? So it takes in the current and merges in the changes. So because the initial model yeah. So fetch 1. Now, did I add it in is the question. Did I add the view side of this in? So the view, query, we have get users, get planning item by ID. This is the one, which is I do not have projects on there yet, so I need to add that in. The GraphQL side of things, I didn't need to stop the entire thing, but whatever. This is something I'm going to change. It's not good. It's too rigid, and what will happen is the SQL that it generates won't be efficient. So I think I just need to wire it up to the DB context, which is going to take some time. Infrastructure. Got to move this out to a library as well. This shouldn't be something that's saved in there. This is how authentication works with the WebSocket. So the GraphQL subscriptions can know who's talking. That include queue.associated projects, and then requirements, projects, assign projects. Projects equals p.assigned associated projects. Yeah, associated projects dot select ap.project dot then pretty much it. Don't need anything else there. See, this is why I don't. See, to me, that doesn't read it as nicely as that, right? So if I do this in the inline syntax, AP in p.associate projects select new project view model. Like, to me, that just reads a little nicer. So I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. So what that should give me is the ability in here to say projects ID name. I can always test that, right? Token copy value. Let's start banana cake pop. Sure. Yeah, do what you want. Authorization token, and we can go projects name. All planning items. There you go. Assigned projects planning and telemanagement. Okay, so if they don't have them, we don't get a null object. We just get nothing. No, project's empty. Empty array. Okay, so we get empty array. And then when we do have them, we have them there. Okay, that's cool. So that works. So we should be able to go back here now. And then on the view, planning item detail, we will do, where's the title? Then we'll do div class equals max with Excel. So that's not, we want that. And then we want if planning item dot projects. Actually, we want that around that entire thing. So I'm just going to put labels in for now, because again, it doesn't really matter that I perfect this. What matters is that I want to get the it's not projects. Yes, it is projects. Okay, so for each, that's some weird syntax. Project as that's not how the for loop works. What am I thinking of? I'm combining my understanding of all the different, like, all the different syntaxes right this second. That's where I am. Components, list view. For item of items track item. Okay, that was right. For project of planning item dot projects track project, and that's name. I don't want it to be ultimately. I don't want that to be like that. I want it to be hang on, assign projects. Data, planning item, projects. Yeah, they're there. So what am I missing? So the query feature should go and get the entity. It should then fetch one, subscribe, then update the entity with the build changes for the item and update the projects. Debugger. Got a feeling that's not working the same way. So yeah, if you're new to the stream, you're more than welcome to ask anything. Right now I'm working on my main project. Current, updated, that's projects. Okay, so that's why. I don't know why. Okay. So the way this is meant to work, the way we intended this to work is this. This should only load in the extra data. If nothing else has changed, why populate everything else? It's not perfect. It's still a work in progress. Because again, I want to cache a lot of stuff. So this kind of, there's no need to pull all this back in and change it all around if we're not changing, if we're not reloading this object, right? So if there's pending updates, it'll load everything again. But if there's not, it'll just add in what's changed, which it assumes based upon a kind of dumb assumption. So yeah, so we go here now, and now we show panning attempt. Okay, so now we need to go and get what's it called? Tailwind UI components. Badges. Badge. With border and dot, with border and dot, with border code. And we just want nice plain gray. That's all we care about. In here, go to this, and then that's that, and that's project name. Got a feeling that's not going to look right. This is my fear. Hey, Deflux, how you doing? I'm really scared of going through this and just spending so much time on the UI. Planning, tenant management. Okay, so we need PY, PX. Why are you stuck together then? If there's P, MX1. There you go. Planning, tenant management. Okay, so we've got the projects that are assigned. So we can go back to planning items, new item, make the UI look awesome. This is going to look way better when Oh, 5, 20, 24. Mr. Winkle, story, ticketing, tenant management. There we go. Okay. That's good. And they should be there. Yeah, there you go. So the goal is to be able to filter these So you can say, okay, I want to see all planning items in tenant management. I want to see all unassociated. I want to see all ticketing, etc. All that are ticketing and tenant management, etc. So again, I've got to think about the use cases, right? And I think that's important now that I'm reflecting on this. I've got to think through not just what am I building, but how am I building it. And I've been worried to what am I saying? I've been worried to spend the time on the UI UX because I don't want to go down that deep dark rabbit hole of perfection, right? Trying to chase perfection because I don't know what I want. So I've got to figure out not only what do I want to do visually, but what do I want to do workflows. So picking the features that I need to drive forward. Well, that's an interesting thought, actually. So this is mobbing, right? And it gives me the ability to look at apps that are similar, right? Now, ironically, it has dark mode. But if I look at the project, let's go to CRMs, because CRMs is the closest in this category. I mean, productivity, maybe. It could be productivity / CRM. Let's go to productivity first, right? But if I look at these apps, right? So data management, AI, lists, presentation, project management tool, height, project collaboration tool. There's one thing I notice about them, most of them. It's actually pretty good project management tool. So they've got 156 flows in here. Oh, there we go. Switching to start theme. There we go. But most of them focus first on retina blowout, and then do dark mode. If you look at things like Jira, right? They started with it was years before they actually got dark mode in there, and I don't even use it because it's horrible. And if I start with dark mode, the other mode is harder to go through as well. So most apps go retina burn first. So height is a project management tool. So this is perfect. Height is exactly what I want to look at, right? So I can go to switch into dark theme. There's only normal mode and flashbang mode. So I usually set up dark mode as like the easy template. But it's a very developers are particularly dark mode oriented. I don't see a lot of users using dark mode. I know for me to stick to component libs that already have those features. But it's not just the components is not going to be enough, right? I need a full theme. I need to build out a full theme of everything. That's a lot of time of not developing. Have vars for CSS. Yeah, but I've got to get all the controls and stuff in there as well. That's like I could. But I just don't like the way they're. Like I like I know that they support Tailwind. Kind of. I could use a learn how to template. Like for me, the landing page should just be like raw HTML, CSS landing page for the app than the actual business. So that's one of the downsides I have so far is with this method that I've got so far, I don't have the controls. I'm building the controls, right? So this is taking a lot more time than I really want it to. It has its own flakiness, etc. Now I get the styling that I like. I like the chunkiness, etc. One thing I do realize is that I don't need the side navigation is horrible, especially for this type of app. I need to get rid of overall side navigation and make it more spread. Why are you doing it this way? Because I do like the way the Tailwind looks, and the other libraries, it takes quite a lot to get Tailwind to look, the look of those libraries. No Tailwind is a lib in Angular. But there's still no controls. So I have Tailwind in there, right? Tailwind is a library that I've included in Angular. But there's no controls. There are tool sets that do have controls. I'm just not using them. And again, going anywhere near the client is a challenge for me, right? I just don't spend enough time in here. So I'm going to learn some hard lessons right now. And I think I do need to spend the time on the UI. As much as I don't want to. Time to learn some hard lessons. Like, I mean, overall, I've got it working the way I want it to work. Right? Like, I don't dislike the style right this second. It's functional enough. But I do need to spend some time on the workflows. So going through stuff like this is going to be useful. Adding a task. But again, I mean, David UI Angular. Damn it. I'm trying to dock a freaking Go window in inside of a. I mean, they're all pretty simple. I mean, again, they're apart from the dialogue, most of that is relatively simple stuff, right? This is really, I would use a lib and call it a day. But again, I've got to pick a lib that, like, the only lib I know of that is not going to cost me any money and is full featured enough is Syncfusion, right? This gives me buttons and drop downs. It gives me a lot of controls, right? But not really things I'm using a lot of. That's the challenge. I mean, again, dialogues. I don't like the idea of dialogues, especially. So why, if it's so simple, then you can use that. But it's not. That's not giving me anything other than a few extra. Like, okay. Oh no, that cannot happen. I cannot spend. Although essentially I am. So the way that Tailwind UI works, right? Tailwind UI has the way Tailwind UI works is I go in here, I go to the components, right, and it has the design for the components. So if I want card headings, I want layout, calendars, etc., and it will give me the markup for the calendar. So then if I want to make that control, I do need to put the work in to make it control, but I've got all the layout and the code, right? So I am making my own library at that point. So I like how clean Tailwind looks. I like the styling of Tailwind. The readability is nice. But Tailwind is about this, not about the logic of the controls. So you can pull in something like this, and I believe they do offer a Tailwind style without it being Tailwind. Or full Tailwind, essentially. And they do offer dark mode, right? I'm still confused as to why you do not want to use a lib and want to make. I don't want to make my own. I'm not trying to make my own. I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting the UI that I want to build. And the problem is that these controls do not give me the UI that I want to build very easily. I've got to theme a library, which becomes its own challenge, right? With the Tailwind UI, I get the markup. I have to do the code. So I don't want to choose that. There are other Tailwind UI libraries. There are other libraries. Flowby is one, yeah. Sailboat, right? But they all follow a similar pattern in that they're mostly, yeah. Water Drink Water's Blazor, yeah. I do not want to use Blazor. They are mostly along the same lines, right? They're the markup without the code. So, I end up with something that looks the part, but then again, I've got to do the code. So, sailboat. No, this is not Water Drink Water. I've done Water Drink Water today, so there's a PR pending. So I'm just moving back to the main project to talk about what I started this with, was talking about the fact that I've, had a bit of yeah, I didn't update the title because it was a semi move. With Water Drink Water, that can be whatever you want it to be, right? Water Drink Water, you can go off and do. And you can build your own UI for Water Drink Water if you don't like the Blazor stuff. We can put libraries in there, etc. I just exited that out. For the main project, for my Liquid Sky project, What about hiring a front-end dev to fix all? So on a product that I have not figured out all the features of, and I've made zero money off of, stream money is not going to make me rich, right? I cannot afford to hire someone to do that for me, right? Not unless they work for incredibly cheap and are very good. Because if they're not very good, then I'm going to spend time fixing what they've done, right? So I get the point, defaults. I'm not trying to be difficult about it. What I'm trying to figure out is what value do I get from pulling in something like Syncfusion, right? What does it really give me that I actually need and I have used so far? Thank you for the bit. What benefit do I pull from pulling in a library of this complexity when I'm not going to? I mean, date pickers, calendars, schedulers, I can definitely see that they would work. Some of the drop downs, yes, I've got some drop downs in there right now. But other controls, yeah, I always struggle a little bit with UI and stuff. Sometimes I like parts and don't like other parts. Some stuff changes other stuff you don't want to change. Right. So at least with Tailwind, as the way I'm doing it right now, I do get the benefit of having, uh, see, again, it's not Tailwind. It doesn't, that's not Tailwind style. That's a kind of bleh version of it. Just the way it looks, it doesn't look right. Yeah, at least I get the visual control right the second the way I want to do it. What's in my head. So maybe I just need to go through things like mobbing and have a look at some of these applications that they kind of look the way I want them, to look. Can I comments now so I can keep track of things? Like, I'm still in the get it to market idea. Would you? No, and I don't disagree with you, defaults. I tend to think that I do want to get something functional and working through the planning. The planning is the biggest differentiator, right? The whole planning piece is the biggest differentiator. The other pieces are nice to add on. So if I could do one thing, it would be focus on the planning. But I need that. I need that to be really good. So what do I like about this? Nothing. I think that's a really busy screen that doesn't really give me much to focus on. I have to really understand that, actually. That's the title. Create and track all campaigns. Yeah, I don't like that. That is not very friendly. So we go back to productivity. People management. Project collaboration is height. Time tracking software. Project planning. Here we go. Sell it, then work out the Dart theme. Adding a task. See, I like this. This style isn't too terrible. I bet it's Tailwind. Do they need to be responsive too? Sorry, Wesley, I didn't mean to ignore that question. Responsive is not a primary concern because it is a desktop application for the most part. A mobile-specific view, like a cut-down version, may be something I consider, but it isn't a primary focus. So I don't mind that. I like the colors there as well. It's not dark mode, but it's not eye blinding mode, right? So we got projects down the side, reports. So we got a nice clean menu, which again, I was just saying that maybe I don't want this menu, but that menu is nowhere as big as the one I've got. Then we've got a clear right hand side, whereas I've got a busy header up here. My flow out does that. So I do this because this works well on mobile as well. I kind of like the flyout design. I don't know. That just feels better than a dialogue to me, and it's consistent, always down the right hand side. And if you're actually on a smaller screen, it still works, right? Did that just scale up as well? It does. It goes chunky mode. That's funny. That's not intentional. And that was inconsistent as well. These are my controls. That's their controls. So I kind of like that design. So charts and stuff, yeah. Charts definitely benefit from having something like chart, yeah. So charts 100% work better with something like Sync Fusion than this. So I think I've got to go and I've got to figure out some workflows that I want to focus on and then try and figure out what they look like and kind of validate not only that they visually make sense, but they actually make sense as well as workflows. Because again, so far, the idea here is that you as a user are coming into this screen. You need to track some work. You need to do some extra work to add some new widgets. You create a new item. You tag it with the projects that it could be that you think it's attached to. You set a review date. You go in here, you add requirements, right? New requirement. Did that just fail, or did I cancel that? Test. Repeat test. That failed. Oh, that's an unintended side effect. Okay, that's a problem I've created. New planning item planning 5/4/2024. I don't have any users. Yeah, that's a data flow problem. So my stores do not reset in between logins. There you go. So the stores don't reset. Yeah, so you have no user. Huh. Oh well, that doesn't really matter for this point. Okay. So first task is decide upon some actual end-to-end workflows, right? What do I see as the, and I do have a good idea of what that looks like. So the requirements you gather, you can add screenshots, you can add other things. Then you promote or close that out. If you're never going to do the work, you can close it, you can add notes, etc. So I need to go through all those pieces. Those are pieces that are necessary for that to work, right? They don't work, or they're not even useful without those pieces, because it is part of that information gathering component. Things like alerts, I do need alerts in there to demonstrate that feature, because again, that is a key selling feature of what I'm saying is different about what I'm building here. So if I don't put that in, then there's no benefit, right? So notifications / alerts and the ability to track review dates clearly is a primary focus. So I need to figure out, just go through those, document those workflows out, and then I need to build those UIs and see what works. Because again, it should be nice and easy, right? It should be easy to gather the information. It should be easy to see the information. Because right now I don't have very much to look at, right? In terms of, once you've got some information on the screen, great. You know, what does that mean? I don't think that's the one. I think it's the bottom one. No. Hmm. Oh, the server's not running in the background. That's one. I'm an idiot. So yeah, I get that running. You go through, you add in the planning item, do that. Now, before I finish up, from a UI perspective, pop-ups are annoying. This doesn't seem to have many pop-ups, but then again, there's nothing I'm adding large here. What are your preferences? Do you have any preferences? Do you have any arguments for or against pop-ups? Pop-ups depends on what it is used for. I'll have me a pop-up or two. So this is, you go in here, you click this, you go to edit, it gives you a pop-up. But I mean, yeah, I'm not turning it into a sales stream. Confirmation stuff, I like pop-ups. But do you like data entry through pop-ups? Because again, my workflow on this one, I kind of like this style. It's not a full pop-up. It's but then if you go to something like, and again, my worry about using this library or any library like this is, I get all the control, I get the code, but I then also get the styling, and I have to figure out how to theme it properly and do all those sorts of things. You know, modal dialogues, templated dialogues, components inside of dialogues. Do you like that? I personally think that's too noisy. I think I use pop-ups for like when people click delete and I say, okay, so confirmation dialogues is okay. Is this dialogue? Is this okay? Right. So they're going in. they're clicking on groups. When they click on groups, it expands down a drop down in which you can search, and then you kind of selected the groups, and that's it. And then you hit save, and that adds them to an organization. I like data entry on pop-ups here are simple, and you only need to have a focus on that only. If you want to have access to other stuff while having the edit form, then I don't like a pop-up. So you need to focus on that only. If you want to have access to other stuff while having the edit form, then I don't like a pop-up. Okay. So again, the busyness is important as well. Creating a recurring project. So that's that. Oh, heck no. Create new project. So there's a workflow, right, in terms of if you have the pop-ups, and that one was a pop-up that popped up a pop-up and popped up another pop-up from that pop-up. Yeah. So I don't know. Well, we will continue this tomorrow. Yeah, too many pop-ups there. Where you want focus is mostly important. And I guess from my perspective, I'm going to say, hey, a planning item is a title and a description. The description is the overall aim of the planning item itself. The individual requirements that you add to that are, again, their own descriptive things. They are added separately to the planning item. They're not actually intended to be. Now, those might work as inline, potentially. Inline editing is an option. I'm not opposed to the whole, hit the add and add it into the flow of the document, because you are building a document essentially. So a planning item is more than just a single description. A planning item is the requirements and the notes and the attached documents that come with it. So yeah, I think I keep looking through this. So planning item probably pop up, then sidebar for the items, since you probably want to see what you already have there. Yeah. But I think again, spending a bit more time on the whole style and the actual workflow, and again to the point of controls, pulling in something like Sync Fusion might be my best way. Right. I don't like it because it's not the way I want it to look, and I'm going to have to spend significant time theming it, which I dislike the idea of. And again, if I choose so the benefit is, the way it is now, I have a lot of control of the CSS, right? I have a lot of control of the layout. I can style things. Now I don't have a theme, which is a problem. But if I pull in the library and then I say, hey, can I go and, can I spend several $100s and hire someone to do a UI UX makeover with the workflows that I have in place valid, then does that then break significantly? So yeah, it is a challenge. The joy of developing software. So anyway, let's go and raid out for now. Thank you for the contribution, Deflux and Wesley. I really do appreciate having you guys here to bounce the ideas off, because it's this is not easy. And I was kind of happy with my path, but I'm adding the features and I'm realizing that I'm spending significant amount of time building controls on the client side to support the back-end behavior. It's not maintainable this way. So users do want to have it pretty, but again, it's usable, right? One of the focuses is I want to make sure that I'm keeping it simple as well. So, ooh, wizards. So yeah, but I will keep focusing. I'll keep having a look and see how I can move forward. So let's go and raid. Let's go and raid. I've raided Fritz too much recently. Full bots were raided. Leagues is doing completely different things. You suggested Andreas yesterday, right? Defaults. He's not doing Blazor today, but what actually is he building? He's putting XML attributes on things. Let's go raid Andreas. And I will be back tomorrow. I'll put a bit more thought to this. And we might do a little bit more of this tomorrow, unfortunately. And we'll see where. So again, thank you for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Thank you all.